He promised to help me grow the money I saved for my son's life-saving surgery. Instead, he stole every cent and called me dramatic. Now my boy's life is hanging by a thread and the thief is family. What he planned next? I'm married, father to a 5-year-old boy named Dylan. A few months ago, he started complaining about pain in his abdomen. Doctors ran tests. We were told it was a rare but treatable condition. Surgery was needed and soon. Nothing cosmetic, not optional. If we waited too long, it could turn into something that changes his life permanently. No exaggeration. I won't go into medical specifics, but the procedure was going to cost around $28,000 even with our insurance. I did everything I could, picked up side gigs, sold my old truck. My wife picked up extra shifts at the ER. We saved. Every dollar mattered. Enter my cousin, Kyle. We were never close, but I tolerated him because we were family. Keyword were. He's one of those guys who brags about flipping stocks but lives with his girlfriend in a 1-bedroom apartment paid for by her dad. Claims to be an entrepreneur, but I've never seen him work. Always in designer stuff, always has a new phone, but never pays for his drinks. About a month ago, I made the mistake of telling him about Dylan. I wasn't looking for money, just venting. You know when you're overwhelmed and the words just fall out? I told him about the surgery, the costs, the stress. Kyle nodded the whole time, said, "Man, that's rough," then offered to help me invest the money I had saved to grow it fast. I laughed in his face. I told him I wasn't risking a cent of that money, that it was strictly for Dylan. Thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Fast forward to last Thursday. My wife had a 14-hour shift. I got home from my landscaping job and went to check the safe where I'd been keeping our emergency funds, about $19,000 at that point. The plan was to transfer the full amount to the hospital account the following Monday, and we'd finally scheduled the surgery. The safe was open. Empty. I froze. First, I thought maybe I forgot to lock it. Maybe my wife had moved the money. I called her. No, she hadn't even touched it. I tore through the house looking for it. Nothing. I checked the camera I installed above the garage a year ago after our car got broken into. It only covers the driveway, but there he was. Kyle, walking up in broad daylight at noon while I was at work. He had a key. A key. Let me stop here. No one outside of me and my wife should have had access. The only time Kyle had been in our house alone was 3 weeks earlier when I asked him to let the plumber in while I was stuck in traffic. Dumbest mistake I've made all year. Guess who had made a copy of our front door key? I didn't even hesitate. I drove straight to his place. He wasn't home. His girlfriend answered, said Kyle was out running errands. I told her what happened. She said, and I quote, "That doesn't sound like something Kyle would do." I said, "Yeah?" Then explained why he was walking out of my house with my safe bag in his hand. She turned white. A couple hours later, Kyle calls me like nothing happened. Says, "Yo man, I heard you were looking for me. Everything cool?" I exploded. I asked him where the money was. He didn't even deny it. Just goes, "Look, I didn't steal it. I'm investing it. You'll get it back with interest. Chill." I said, "You took money meant for my kid's surgery, man." His actual response, "He'll be fine. Kids heal fast. You're being dramatic." I went silent. I swear I saw red. He kept talking. Told me to give it a few weeks. Said he put it in some crypto project and guaranteed it'd double. I hung up, called the police, filed a report, brought the camera footage in. But here's the thing, because Kyle had a key and there was no sign of forced entry, they said it might not be considered a break-in. They'd investigate, but no promises. Said it was complicated because it's family. Meanwhile, Dylan's surgery was scheduled for the 17th. I now had $0 to give the hospital. You ever had to sit your wife down and tell her that the surgery we've been fighting for might have to be postponed? You ever see your wife cry in the bathroom because she doesn't want your son to hear? That night, I didn't sleep. I messaged every contact I had. Friends, old coworkers, even some people I hadn't talked to in years. Explained the situation. Set up a fundraiser. Swallowed every ounce of pride. The worst part? Kyle had the audacity to comment on the fundraiser. He wrote, "This is so embarrassing. Just be patient and you'll get your money back. Stop acting like a victim." I nearly threw my phone. I blocked him everywhere. Then I got a notification that someone had filed a dispute with the fundraiser platform saying it was fraudulent, and they froze the account for 48 hours to review. 48 hours I didn't have. The fundraiser is frozen. I'm sitting there with my laptop open, staring at the "Your account is under review" message, feeling like someone punched me in the chest. The surgery is in 6 days. We don't have the money, and the guy who stole it is now trying to sabotage the one shot we have at replacing it. I'm not gonna lie, I broke down. That night, I just sat on the floor in the hallway outside Dylan's room and cried. I didn't even know I had that kind of cry in me, the kind that makes your face ache. He was in his room humming some cartoon theme song, completely unaware that his dad was losing it 4 feet away. The next morning, I called Kyle's girlfriend again. She didn't pick up. 2 hours later, I get a text from her. "I'm sorry for what he did. I didn't know. I left him. I didn't even know how to respond. I just typed 'thank you' and left it at that." But a few minutes later, I get another text. "There's something you should know. He's planning to leave town." Said something about staying with a guy named Leon in Arizona. Boom. That was it. The switch flipped. I called the detective assigned to the case and told him what she said. He basically told me, "Thanks, we'll update the report." But I could tell he wasn't jumping out of his seat. Not much they could do unless Kyle tried to skip state with a warrant on him, and there wasn't one. Yet, I couldn't wait for yet. I had 5 days. I got in the car and drove straight to Kyle's mom's house, my aunt. She and my mom are sisters, and let me tell you, 2 completely different different breeds. My mom raised me with discipline. Kyle's mom gave him everything he ever wanted. She's the reason he acts like the world owes him something. I knocked. She answered. When she saw me, she gave me this half smile like I was there to hang out. I said, "Where's your son?" She blinked. "Why?" I said, "He stole from me. He took the money for Dylan's surgery. If you know where he is, you better tell me now before I go full public with this." She got defensive immediately. "That's not what he told me. He said you gave it to him to invest." I nearly laughed. "Do you really believe that? Do you think I'd gamble my kids' life savings on crypto because Kyle said it was a good idea?" She folded her arm. "You've always been dramatic. You were always jealous of him." That's when I realized she didn't care. She wasn't going to help. I said, "You're no better than him," and turned to leave. She shouted after me, "Maybe if you were smarter with your money, you wouldn't be in this mess." I didn't even turn around, just got in my truck and drove off. By the time I got home, I had a voicemail from the fundraiser platform. "Your account has been reviewed and cleared. Funds will be available within 24 hours. Small win." I let my wife know. We hugged. We cried again. Not because it was over, but because there was still hope. Now here's where it gets absolutely insane. The next morning, I wake up to banging on my door. Not a knock banging. I open the door and there's Kyle. He looks like he hasn't slept. Greasy hair, eyes bloodshot, hoodie half-zipped. He doesn't say hi, doesn't say sorry, just storms into my living room like I'm the one who wronged him. "You got my girlfriend kicked out." I said, "You robbed me. You're lucky I didn't press charges yet." He starts pacing. "It was a loan. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You'll get it back and then some." "I told you that." I point to the door. "Get out." He doesn't move. "You seriously gonna turn this into a family war over a few grand?" "A few grand," I yell. "It was everything we had. You knew that money was for Dylan. You heard me say it." Kyle starts going off about how I don't understand opportunity and how fear is keeping me poor. Swear to God, he used the phrase closed-minded wage slave. That's when I snapped. I grabbed my phone, started recording, and said, "Repeat that. Go ahead. Tell the internet how you stole from your cousin's kid and called him a wage slave." He lunged at me, tried to slap the phone out of my hand. He missed. I stepped back, told him I'd call the cops if he didn't leave right now. And then he says this, "If your kid dies over this, it's on you, not me. You're the one who's overreacting." That was it. I called 911. He ran out of the house and down the street. Later that day, I finally filed for a restraining order. I gave them the video, showed them the camera footage, handed over every screenshot, every text, every voicemail. And guess what? Kyle disappeared. Gone. Phone off. Social media wiped. His girlfriend says she hasn't seen him. His mom's not answering call. Nobody's heard a word. 3 days left till Dylan's surgery, and Kyle just vanished with my money. But here's the silver lining. The fundraiser came through. People saw my post. It got shared. Donations came flooding in. Even strangers started sending cash. An old college buddy I hadn't talked to in years Venmo'd me $500. My boss gave me an advance. One of my clients left me a $100 tip for Dylan. By Saturday, we were only $3,000 short. Sunday morning, I got a text. Blocked number. No name. Don't worry about the money. I know someone who can help. Just meet me. Alone. 7 p.m. Warehouse lot off 47th and Mayfield. I get this anonymous text. Tells me to meet someone at a warehouse lot on 47th and Mayfield at 7 p.m. Doesn't say who it is. Just says they can help with the money. At this point, I don't know if it's a setup, a trap, a joke, or the miracle I've been praying for. But I go. Because what else can I do? I pull into the lot early. Empty. One flickering street lamp. Chain link fence. The kind of place that smells like burned rubber and broken promises. 10 minutes go by. Then 20. I'm about to leave when this beat-up black SUV rolls in. Tinted windows. No plates on the front. It parks across from me and just sits there. Then the passenger door opens and out steps Kyle. I swear my heart stopped. I locked my doors without even thinking. He waves at me like we're meeting for drink. I crack the window an inch. "You have 5 seconds," I yell. "Say something worth hearing or I'm gone." Kyle holds up a manila envelope. Thick, sealed. "I brought it all back," he says. "Every cent. And then some." I don't say a word. Just stare. He takes 2 steps closer. I messed up. I know. I thought I could flip it. It tanked. Then I doubled down. And I got lucky. I ask, "Why are you really here?" He shrugs. "Guilt, maybe. Or fear. Maybe both. I don't want to be the guy who let his cousin's kid suffer. I'm not a monster." I said, "You literally said if my kid dies, it's on me." He sighs. "Yeah, I was angry. Stupid. Look, I talked to some people. Sold off a few things. Traded some crypto when it bounced back. It's all in there." He slides the envelope under the cracked window. Then steps back. "I just want this to be over." I took the envelope. Drove off without another word. When I got home, I counted it. Over $30,000 in cash. But don't get it twisted. I wasn't relieved. I was furious. Because this man gambled with my child's life. And only gave it back after he won. If he'd lost, we'd be ruined. Dylan wouldn't get his surgery. All because Kyle thought he was smarter than everyone else. But that's not even the worst part. Because the next morning, I kid you not, I get a knock on my door. It's a reporter. Local news. Says they got an anonymous tip about a family feud over stolen medical funds. Asked if I wanted to share my side before the story broke. Apparently someone had sent them a copy of my fundraiser and screenshots of the texts edited to make it look like I stole the money from Kyle and was now blaming him to cover it up. You read that right. He was trying to flip the script. The reporter handed handed me a folder. Inside, printed messages, a summary of what the anonymous source claimed, and a photo of me taken from inside my garage. That's when I snapped. I called the cops again, showed them everything, told them Kyle was escalating, stalking, framing. This wasn't just theft anymore, this was targeted harassment. They took the folder, took copies of the camera footage I'd backed up, promised to escalate it. I called my lawyer. She was already 3 steps ahead. By noon that day, we filed an emergency restraining order with new evidence attached. She also told me this now fell under both civil and criminal jurisdictions. I was ready to press charges. And just when I think the mess might slow down, I check my email, and there's a message waiting from Dylan's school. Subject line, concerns regarding student safety, immediate response requested. My stomach dropped. I opened the email. Apparently, someone had called the school pretending to be Dylan's uncle, saying that my wife and I were unstable, that Dylan wasn't safe at home, and that the boy's surgery is a scam for money. They'd launched a mandatory welfare review. I had to meet with the school counselor and a child protective services rep the next day. Dylan was temporarily held out of class for his protection. That was when I realized Kyle wasn't just trying to avoid consequences. He was trying to burn down my entire life. Tuesday morning, I'm sitting in the front office of my son's school, staring at a mural of cartoon animals on the wall while the CPS rep asks me questions like I'm some shady character out of a documentary. How often does Dylan bathe? Has he ever talked about being scared at home? Can you describe your disciplinary methods? It was humiliating, but I answered every question calmly, honestly, because I had nothing to hide. I even brought a binder, no joke, a binder of medical receipts, doctor's notes, fundraiser history, and photos of Dylan laughing in every possible setting. Beach birthday bedtime. I came armed like I was going to court. After 40 minutes, the rep closed her folder and said, "I don't see any red flags here." Damn right, but I still had to wait for an official clearance, which meant Dylan was still pulled out of class for the rest of the day. They didn't say it outright, but the counselor hinted that someone may have also reported us for emotional instability in the home. My wife broke down when she heard that. She said it felt like someone had walked into our house and painted a giant red X over our family. And the worst part, Dylan started asking if he did something wrong. "Why did I get kicked out of class, Daddy?" I wanted to tell him the truth, that his dirtbag cousin tried to ruin our lives, but I didn't. I just told him sometimes adults get things wrong, and we were fixing it. That night, I called Kyle. Yeah, I know, but I had to hear it from him. I had to know why he was trying to destroy us even after returning the money. He picked up, didn't say hello, just goes, "What now?" I said, "Did you call CPS?" He paused for half a second too long. Then he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "You went too far, man. You're messing with a 5-year-old now. You dragged him into this." Kyle says, "Maybe if you didn't run your mouth online, none of this would be happening." That's when it hit me. He saw the fundraiser going viral, and instead of being ashamed, he got jealous. People were praising me, donating to me, defending me, and that ate him alive. I asked him, straight up, "Are you trying to make me look like a fraud? Is that your end game?" Kyle laughed, like I'd asked if he wanted fries with that. "You embarrassed me, dude. You made me look like a criminal. You think people are just gonna forget that?" I said, "You are a criminal." He said, "Nah, I just bet on myself. You're the one who folded." That was the last straw. Next day, my lawyer filed a full lawsuit. Theft, defamation, harassment, endangering a child's welfare, you name it, we included it. We also submitted a request to unseal Kyle's financial records. Once that got approved, we'd have proof of where the money went, when he took it, and what he did with it. But the dude didn't wait for the process. Instead, he countersued me. I'm not even kidding. A day later, I get a formal notice that Kyle's filing a defamation lawsuit against me, claiming I intentionally misled the public to solicit funds under false pretenses, and that my fundraiser damaged his personal and professional reputation. This man who hasn't held a steady job in 5 years and lives off his girlfriend's Venmo requests is now claiming I cost him future income potential. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. But my lawyer, she didn't laugh. She said, "He's not doing this to win. He's doing this to bury you in paperwork. He wants to drain you." And she was right. Emails, court dates, document requests, it all came flooding in. I lost an entire week of work. My wife had to cancel her shift. We were buried in legal noise while trying to plan for a major surgery. Every time I checked the mailbox, it was like opening a new level of hell. But I kept fighting. I wasn't going to let this guy win. And just when we thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. Because Dylan started getting sick again. Not just mild pain, sharp crying on the floor pain. We rushed him back to urgent care. They said the condition had worsened, maybe from stress, maybe just bad timing, but we had to move the surgery up. It was Thursday night. Doctor said, "If you want the best outcome, you do this by Monday." I looked at my wife and we both knew we had to pay all of it. Now, I called the hospital, paid the entire $28,000 right then, used the fundraiser money, drained our savings, used my bonus check, the cash Kyle had returned, even borrowed from my brother-in-law. By Friday morning, we were dead broke, but Dylan was on the schedule. We made it, barely, bloodied, exhausted, furious, but we made it. That night, I got one more text from Kyle. All this over a kid? Monday, surgery day. We get to the hospital before sunrise. Dylan's groggy, but in a good mood, mostly excited about the cartoon-themed gown they gave gave him. My wife's holding it together on the outside, but I can see the crack. She hasn't eaten, barely slept, neither have I. They will Dylan off to prep around 6:40 a.m. We kiss him on the forehead and watch him disappear behind those double doors. The hallway goes silent. If you've never sat in a surgical waiting room while your child's life is in someone else's hand, I don't recommend it. You go from praying to bargaining to going numb and back again in minutes. Every second feels like a punishment. 3 hours in, the doctor walks out. Good news, surgery went well. They got everything. No complication. Dylan's stable. They'll monitor him overnight. I actually fall into my chair. My wife lets out this sob laugh combo that sounds like someone turned grief into joy. For the first time in weeks, I exhale. But the peace doesn't last long, because when we go to check in at the front desk to ask about post-op instructions, the woman working the counter pulls up our file and frowns. Excuse me 1 second, she says. Then she picks up the phone and dials internal security. My stomach drops. Is there a problem? I ask. She says, your billing info triggered a fraud alert this morning. Someone called claiming the payment for Dylan's procedure was obtained illegally and requested it be reversed. What? I practically yell. We didn't honor it, she says. Because you're here? In person. But this kind of alert usually comes from someone inside the family. I stare at her. Then it clicked. Kyle, while we were in surgery, while we were watching our 5-year-old fight through anesthesia and scalpels, Kyle called the hospital and tried to cancel the payment. He wasn't done. He wanted Dylan to miss the surgery. He wanted the payment frozen. The whole thing reversed. He wanted to win. That's when I lost it. I didn't wait. I walked outside. Right there in the hospital parking lot, I dialed his number. He picked up on the third ring. Yo, he said, like we were grabbing coffee. I didn't even greet him. You called the hospital. You tried to cancel my son's surgery. Silence. Just for a second. Then he goes, well, maybe next time don't lie to everyone for sympathy. You're sick. Maybe. But I didn't lie. You don't even know what truth means anymore. You stole from your own family and now you're trying to sabotage my kid's chance at a normal life. I didn't sabotage anything. They didn't believe me, did they? He laughed, and I felt something break in me. I told him, I'm pressing charges. You're done. He said, try. You've got no proof it was me. But he was wrong, because the hospital recorded the call, and the caller gave Kyle's full name and callback number, probably thinking no one would ever question it. I called the detective, gave him the info, told him everything. He said, that's enough. He's crossed the line. By Tuesday morning, an arrest warrant was issued for attempted medical fraud and obstruction of medical care for a minor. But the drama didn't end there, because that same day, we were served a notice at home. Kyle had filed for emergency injunction against us, claiming we were trying to slander him publicly and ruin his business venture. He even claimed we fabricated the entire situation for online fame and financial gain. It was his last-ditch move, a Hail Mary. But the best part? He filed it in the wrong county, wrong jurisdiction, wrong form, no legal representation. The judge threw it out in under 10 minutes. And then came the real twist. His girlfriend came forward. She messaged my wife privately and said, I think it's time people knew what kind of person Kyle really is. She sent screenshots, bank transfers, chat log, voice memos, Kyle bragging about taking the money, about how stupid we were, about how he could flip it overnight and be a hero. But that wasn't the worst of it, because in one of the messages, he said this. Worst case, the kid doesn't get the surgery. Big deal. Kids bounce back. This just forces them to depend on me. I'll be the only way out. Either they forgive me, or they look like monsters for letting a kid suffer over money. He had it planned. He wanted power leverage a win. And now, by the time they arrested him Thursday morning, he was hiding out at some Airbnb under a fake name. Police picked him up. Quiet. No incident. But when they cuffed him, Kyle asked the arresting officer something that still haunts me. He said, so what? I go to jail for trying to help a family that never appreciated me? After the arrest, we thought we'd finally have some peace. We were wrong. First, there was the court process. My lawyer advised me to go full throttle. Press every charge we could. Theft, fraud, harassment, endangerment, interference with medical care, cyber defamation. The list was long. The DA was eager. Said Kyle's pattern made him an easy sell to a jury. But it never got that far, because Kyle took a deal. He pled guilty to felony theft and obstruction in exchange for avoiding jail time. 3 years probation, restitution order, and a no-contact clause. He also had to publicly admit what he did in writing as part of the deal. We got a court-ordered apology letter, and I swear to you, it was a masterpiece of fake remorse. For paragraphs of I deeply regret my actions and I lost sight of what really matters and I hope one day to earn your forgiveness. He signed it like he was writing a graduation speech. It went straight in the trash. But that's not the shocking part. That came a week later, because apparently Kyle didn't just try to ruin us. He had a backup plan, a second layer. He'd been recording us, not just calls, actual videos, hidden phone camera footage from when he stayed at our place, from the time I let him in to meet the plumber, from outside our house. Even one clip of me pacing in the living room, yelling about Dylan's surgery costs, saying, I'd do anything to fix this. He tried to twist that as evidence that I was planning a scam. He'd saved it all to a cloud folder, and when he got arrested, he gave access to someone else. And that person was my uncle, my mom's brother. This man, this so-called neutral family member, sent me a message 2 days after Kyle's sentencing. It read, we need to talk. I've seen everything. You're not as innocent as you're pretending to be. Family doesn't lie like this. Attached was a zip folder. Inside, videos, screenshots, out-of-context audio clips. Kyle Kyle had made a case file, trying to pin everything back on me. But here's the worst part. My mom believed it. She called me and said, "I just want to hear your side before I decide what to do." Decide what? She said she needed to stay neutral in the dispute. I laughed. I asked, "Did you stay neutral when Dylan almost didn't get his surgery? When Kyle tried to cancel his payment behind our back?" Silence. I said, "Let me make it easy for you. Pick a side. Pick him and we're done." She said she needed time. I hung up, and that was the last time I spoke to my mother. A week later, my aunt, Kyle's mom, called and left a voicemail. Told me I broke the family over money and destroyed Kyle's future and robbed a child of his uncle. I saved that voicemail just in case. Funny how they all rallied behind the guy who stole from a kid. Funny how they blamed me for finally drawing a line. But you know what? Dylan's doing great. He recovered. He's running around like nothing ever happened. He still has his big goofy smile. Still asks me every night if we're gonna read a story together. Still thinks I'm the best dad in the world. And Kyle? He's a ghost now. No job, no girlfriend, no place to live. Last I heard, he was couch surfing with some friend who doesn't know the full story. He posts on private accounts now. Talks like he's misunderstood, like the world turned on him. Maybe it did, or maybe he was never part of it to begin with. As for me, I installed more cameras, got a security system, changed every lock, every password, every account. I deleted the fundraiser, took down every social media post, went private, quiet. But I'll tell you one last thing, something that still gives me chill. 2 nights ago, I got a letter. No name, no return address, just a sheet of paper. Type, "You think this is over, but what's taken can always be taken back." Taped to it, a photo of Dylan at his school, taken from behind, from a distance. Same backpack, same shoes, same jacket from that morning. We called the police. They're investigating. But you know what's wild? The photo wasn't digital. It was a Polaroid. Who even uses Polaroids anymore? Kyle's girlfriend messaged us the next day. He used to carry a Polaroid all the time. Said digital was too easy to trace. And that's where I'll leave this. Because honestly, I don't know where this goes next, but I'm watching. And this time, I'm not hoping for peace. I'm preparing for war.